All right, guys, welcome. Already got some viewers on board. Good to see you this morning, Wednesday, July 16th. And man, lots to get to today. I have a special guest for you this morning in just a second, so hold on. But in the meantime, be sure to check out the links that are posted in the description. Be sure to like and share. If you can go ahead and do that and tag a few people, then it opens up those algorithms and it helps get the word out. So help spread the message. So be sure to go ahead and do that. That would be a big help. Appreciate you guys. We're just getting set up and rolling this morning. Got a special guest coming to you in just a second. Had a great town hall meeting last night. And going to give you some updates on that with Justin Easley with Drive for 47. And man, it's just, great when you get together with like-minded people, right? So that's what I had a chance to do last night, and it was a good time. But let's see here. Just a couple of tweaks I got to make real quickly. Okay, we are rolling strong here. All right. I want to introduce my next guest that you know well, chair of the Dallas GOP and a true patriot, coming to you live from Dallas, Mr. Colonel Allen West. Welcome to the show, sir.
It's always a pleasure to be with you, Jake. God bless.
Well, it's good to have you. And as usual, so much to talk about, things happening. I want to look at a couple things that are, of course, national news, and then some things happening here in Oklahoma that I know you're going to have some good perspective on. But one, the thing that's kind of in the forefront of my mind right now is the Department of Education and the recent Supreme Court ruling that's going to allow this to move forward to dissolve the Department of Ed at the federal level. And of course, right here in the state of Oklahoma, this is an area of great concern because we have dismal educational outcomes, and we're working hard to improve that. I think this will help. What do you think?
Well, absolutely right. And, as always, I'll go back to the Constitution. And in Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, it lists the 18 enumerated powers, duties, responsibilities, jurisdictions, purviews of the federal government. Education is not there. The Department of Education, it was just created in the Carter administration. We used to have this thing called Health, Education, Welfare, HEW, but the teachers' unions pressured Jimmy Carter into creating their own department, agency, which is the Department of Education. And you think about how great education and how we were the gold standard of education in the world, but look at what has happened since we created the Department of Education back during the Carter administration. So this is not something that is within the federal government's purview. It was an agency created by the executive Jimmy Carter, and I think that this is an agency that can be taken away or eradicated by the executive, because it is part of the executive branch. But again, this is about constitutional governance, and that's what we need to have. And education is a state and local issue, and that's why we have local school boards.
That's right. Nobody knows the children better than the parents to start with, and then at the local level, the most local level. And I'm curious. Of course, Texas, you're right there. It's just south of the border of us, and we have a lot of similarities between the two states, very conservative states. What do you expect conservative states like Oklahoma and Texas to do with this? What kind of adjustments will be made at the state level, or if any? Will we see any significant differences?
Well, I hope so. We even have a problem here in the state of Texas where we have the TEA, the Texas Education Association, or agency, I'm sorry. And again, this is something that was created while we also have an elected state board of education. And what you end up seeing is the TEA, in many cases, supersedes the state board of education. And these are people that are elected by, the citizens of Texas. So right. I think that we should look at what has just happened there at the federal government level and replicate that at the state level, and maybe look at how we get rid of the Texas Education Agency, even so here, and again get this thing back down to the local levels and then the right channels. And I think one of the big things we've got to do is start emphasizing educational freedom and parental rights in education,
Yes.
instead of this top-down government-driven policy and plan. Look, there are things that the government can do, making sure that there is equal access to a quality education. But as far as policy, that needs to be down to the lowest level possible.
Amen. For all of you listening, I did not talk to him previous to this. That's just like-minded positioning. I've been saying the same thing, sir, that we need to consider now at the state level. Do we need to consider dissolving the state oversight? What does that relationship look like with the local school districts? And like you said, the most local level, which is the parents. So I always love to quote Moms for Liberty, who says we do not co-parent with the government. And I love that. That's exactly that's the root of it right there.
It is the root of it. And again, you think about how, excuse me, but, previously we never had the government involved in education.
Yeah.
And one of the great educators in this country was Booker T. Washington. That's my philosophical mentor. And, he created an entire, university, an institute, Tuskegee Normal Industrial Institute, which is now Tuskegee University. There was no Department of Education around when he created that institution, but he had three pillars. It was education, entrepreneurship, and self-reliance. So I think we need to get back to some fundamental blocking and tackling, if you want to call it that way, in education, and get rid of all this crazy stuff. Once upon a time, Jake, we used to have civics. Then someone came along, I don't know, from government maybe, and changed it to social studies. And what is social studies? And that's how you get all this other indoctrination that comes in. So we need to get back to reading, writing, arithmetic, and understand the functions of our government.
Amen. We're seeing a lot of cleaning house, and just yesterday we saw the Senate pass the $9 billion DOGE cut and defunding NPR, PBS, USAID, and there were three Republicans who voted no on this: McConnell, Collins, Murkowski. I guess no big surprise there, but but we did see J.D. Vance step in to cast the deciding vote to end this wasteful spending. So I'm excited about that. I think we are definitely in that groove of cleaning house at the federal level, and I expect we're going to see that also happen at the state level. But tell me about your thoughts on the passing of these DOGE cuts. Of course, with Elon making a big to-do about all of the exposing of the wasteful spending with USAID. Now we're seeing it actually be codified, taking action through the legislature to take real action to cut and clean up. So what do you think is next?
Well, I think you have to continue to do that. You have to continue to go through the federal government budget and find, what I call it restoring constitutional governance. I mean, who said that the federal government needs to be involved in public radio? I get it. I understand that once upon a time we wanted people in rural areas to be able to have, free access to radio programs, things of that nature. Well, we don't need that anymore nowadays. And we don't need to have platforms that are funded by the government that is really, speaking, principles and values that are not in coexistence with our Constitution, our founding documents, and things of this nature. So, yes, I mean, there are plenty of rich folks out there on the left side. They can keep the NPR propped up and what have George Soros, I'm sure he can write a check. And so hopefully this thing will continue on and we can learn this lesson and we can do it down, like I say, at the state level, even at the local level in our cities and in our counties. So the rescissions package, hopefully more will continue to come as they codify more of these findings into law, because that's the key thing. Executive orders are great. I got it. Okay. But it has to be codified into law, or else you get what you got when Joe Biden came into office. He just reverses it all.
That's right. Exactly. So I expect more will come. I'm excited to see what's downstream. I wanted to shift gears here just a minute to highlight something we're dealing with right here in Oklahoma. I think that we're going to see it more in other states as well, but this big push for open primaries, these jungle primaries, to take the top 2 vote getters in an election, and then we could end up having to pick from 2 Democrats and removing the Republican Party altogether. That is the push here. We're fighting against that. Tell me what you think as chairman of the Dallas County GOP. Are you guys facing any fights for open primaries down there?
Well, yeah, we have open primaries down
You do?
here in the
Oh,
state
wow.
of Texas.
Okay.
And see, that's why we're fighting to close our primaries here. And as a matter of fact, we had, Democrats come in last year, and they actually voted in a Republican runoff, and the Speaker of the House was involved, and Democrats helped the Speaker of the House to win in a Republican runoff. So we need to close these primaries. And the other thing we need to make sure that we don't allow to happen is this ranked choice voting, which is the reason why you got Zoran Mamdani up there in New York that won that Democrat primary. So the left is always looking at means by which they can undermine our electoral system. They want to get rid of the electoral college, all of these things, move toward a popular vote. But definitely close your primaries. Don't go to jungle primaries. That's the issue that you have out even in a place like California. That leads to one party rule.
100%. Yeah, we're fighting it. So we do not want. We're getting a lot of Californians coming to Oklahoma. I know Texas as well. Here. Yeah. And so they're coming for a reason, because of freedom and because we're different. We don't want to become like the state they're leaving. And we're going to be fighting that. Colonel Allen West, I so appreciate you, sir, and all your perspective. Look forward to next time.
Well, thanks so much, and congratulations to the Oklahoma City Thunder winning the NBA championship. Yes. I hadn't seen you talk to you since y'all won that championship, so God bless you.
Yeah, big deal there. So thank you, sir. God bless you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right.
This call is no longer.
Colonel Allen West, and so always appreciate and love his perspective there on all of the different topics. But man, as he said, open primaries, we have to ensure they do not come here to Oklahoma. I'm going to be speaking on the 24th at the Oklahoma GOP Boots and Bling fundraiser. So that's coming up just around the corner. And, we have certain values that are very distinct and important to us as a party that we want to make sure that we can preserve here in the state of Oklahoma. When we open this up to open primaries, there is a chance of losing that. Now, I would like to think that we could have the confidence to open this up, and the top 2 vote getters would be Republicans. But I have concerns with where we're at in Oklahoma, specifically with the Republican Party, mainly because of the factions and the disunity we've seen over the last few years. But I do want to say, I believe a shift is happening. And let me, Colonel Allen West there, realized he was still looking at you. And I do believe there is a positive shift towards reconciliation, towards coming together. I mean, think about Republicans and conservatives is when we believe something, we believe it to the core, and we're willing to fight for it. And they're usually fundamental, principled beliefs, which is amazing. And that's why I've been saying that this whole issue on the Epstein list has really highlighted an important point, that righteousness and truth is above any individual. And so as much as we all love Trump, as much as we believe in him, there's a huge question mark when he's standing in the way of releasing the list of influential, powerful people who might also be pedophiles. And there's a big question about, are you protecting them? And I do believe a couple of things. Again, these are beliefs, just as you have beliefs, and I'm not sure any of us actually know the details of what's actually happening. But it is my belief that Trump he never visited Epstein Island. I know that he has a very shady past when it comes to women and things like that. But I don't believe he went to Epstein Island. I don't think that's the reason for the holdout on the list. I do believe that there's probably some people who had some business engagement with Epstein and had no connection with Epstein Island or the young underage girls. And if this list is released and their name is on there and connected with Epstein in any way, then, they're going to be hung. And vilified, probably ruined. And I believe that's a big part of Trump's concern here of releasing the list. Of course, now there's the question of, is there even a list? Has it been destroyed? So many questions around this thing. But the point I'm making this morning is not to get too deep in the woods there, but to say this, that what it has revealed to me is that people, conservatives, MAGA, actually prioritize righteousness and truth over any one person. And so believe that that as much as we love Trump, we will hold him accountable as well. So I think that has been a very good finding in all of this thing, the thing that has been revealed and exposed. There's a couple things I want to highlight for you. One is this issue of DOGE at the federal level and the cuts, because here at the state level, we're seeing at least it's being talked about, the DOGE cuts. And just like we're seeing at the federal level, I hope to see more of that at the state level, a cleaning up of bureaucratic agencies, of departments, of wasteful spending, waste, fraud, and abuse. And so I hope to see more of that here at the state level. But $9 billion cut at the federal level, NPR, PBS, USAID. There's no reason that taxpayer money should be going to fund these things. As Colonel Allen West just pointed out, there's really no significant need for those today, especially with all the technology we have, the access to broadband, the cell phones that we have, the internet access. These are antiquated things that are just being propped up with taxpayer money, and glad to see them cut. Like you said, there'll be other billionaires that want to step in and keep them alive. So be it. Hey, free market, let it play, and people can invest in whatever they want to invest in. But we're not talking about taxpayer money anymore, which is a relief. So Congressman Josh McKean's been doing a great job. He, of course, voted for these tax cuts. And I want to highlight something else that he has been speaking out about and working on with regard to immigration. Let me just pull up this clip here. This was recently.
The parole vetting was so inadequate that one DHS Inspector General report found that 3 Afghan parolees had derogatory information related to felonies in the United States, and at least one had an indication of terrorism-related activity. An additional Afghan national who received parole through Operation Allies Welcome was arrested in my home state, in Oklahoma City, for plotting an election day terrorist attack for ISIS. While Republican members of this committee and millions nationwide recognize the national security threat of providing parole to poorly vetted immigrants, the Biden-Harris administration surged, making it even easier for more individuals to apply for parole through a CB1 application. We even found that during the administration that cartels hijacked that CB1 app to create appointments for would-be parole, for a fee, of course, so that the administration parole program was helping cartels pocket more dollars from desperate individuals.
So we're seeing President Trump ending unmerited parole, restoring law and order in the country. And now the push is, just like with the DOGE cuts, the push is to ensure that future administrations cannot twist the law. Now this abuse of the parole system. So we are seeing this push by Congressman Burkeen and others in the House to return parole to its proper purpose. And, of course, under the Biden administration, the legal requirements for granting parole were erased, and they allowed approximately 3 million previously inadmissible individuals to be let into the United States as parolees. And so this is a big correction. Love to highlight our congressmen and women up in DC when they're doing great things. Appreciate you, Congressman Burkeen, working on that. And related to that, we have, let me see, make sure I play the right.
Not remember a time in my adult lifetime where one specific law enforcement agent.
Well, hold on, I'm going to get to that in just a second, talking about the targeting of ICE agents. before we get to that,
Use it willy-nilly for 2-3 million people whom
Again,
you
talking about
barely
parole.
vet, if at all. You don't end up with that quality of story 2 and 3 million times. So if you want to just bring in those good cases, I'll call them, then you need to restrict the availability of parole to the secretary and to every administration so that they're forced to use it for quality cases.
Let me shift gears relative to what happens once parole is provided, that designation. What happens to that individual in terms of the time period? They are then told to, some are told to show up to an ICE agent to be able to be given a notice to appear in an immigration court. But many of these ICE officers are so backed up by our understanding, it may be as long as 10 years. Again, some of these are 1 year, 2 year, in terms of the time period that should be allowable, can turn into many multiplied past that. That notice to appear, if it goes to the nth degree,
Right.
how long does it take for these people to otherwise be processed, then final adjudication?
So Congressman Correa's other comment about how this needs to fit into the bigger immigration reform question falls right into your question here. So one thing that no one has talked about is how all of these otherwise illegal entrants clog the system for people who are playing by the rules, who have played by the rules all along. America is the most generous immigration country in the world. And that's the legal portion of what we do. And that is clogged up. That's where that 10-year backup number comes from. And the estimates, again, are different. Presumably, some of the money from the bill that just passed will be used to get more judges, more lawyers, et cetera, and to move those cases faster. But in the Biden administration, hey, come see us at the ICE office, they knew very well that a large portion of those folks would never show up, and in fact, they didn't. And so now we need to go find them just to end their parole and put them back in the status they were previously in and deport them where appropriate.
As it's commonly said, notice to appear turns into notice to disappear.
That's exactly right. And, you know, the fact that these individuals were released and then expected to return was just ludicrous, but the whole administration was upside down. So it's in keeping with that. And thankfully, we are making that right. Of course, a massive effort to correct the debacle, which has been the southern border, closing it up. It seems like those that were being allowed through has come to a screeching stop. And now we are addressing some of these other issues, like correcting this parole issue and doing great work. So I appreciate that. But to, again, return it back to Oklahoma and the issues that we're dealing now, how it might relate to my run for governor, is I was asked, and I'm asked all the time about the relationship with, not the relationship with, but what action would be taken concerning immigrants here in Oklahoma. And as I pointed out last night, I did a town hall with Justin Easley with Drive for 47, a great group. You can jump on there and join that. It's a private closed group, but they are doing great things across the state in promoting conservative values. And so I had a good town hall with him last night. And that was one of the questions that came up and frequently comes up is, what are we going to do about illegal immigrants in Oklahoma? And I think the proper response is, it's real clear where the law has been broken, then it must be dealt with according to the law. And if we don't like the law, we have to change the law. But whenever you have people that are here illegally, that wrong has to be made right. And the hard thing for a lot of people, including myself, are those that have been here for 30 years, have put down roots, have started businesses, have, kids and now grandkids here in the United States, and the potential now of them being deported. And then we have other instances of people that have been born here or maybe brought here at a young age, never got their citizenship confirmed, and now they may be returned to a country that they never knew. So, but if we're going to be a nation of laws, if we're going to have laws in the books, we have to live by them. And my big question to those who have been here for so long is, why have you not done anything? And, I know that there's so many stories out there of people who've been working hard to do it the right way and have been in the system for 10, 15, 20 years, still without their citizenship. So that is like they made the point in those video clips, that a lot of these other illegals that are rushing in are clogging the system and delaying the process for those who are trying to do it the right way. And that's a very unfortunate situation there. We need to prioritize those immigrants who've been working on this for years. Let's move them to the front of the line. Let's help them expedite their citizenship. I mean, of course, as long as they are checked out, but there's no reason, I don't think, that this should take 15, 20 years to become a citizen. I'm friends with a pastor from Australia. Him and his wife are moving here to the United States, have been living here. They've got, they've been on an educational visa. They've had work visas or religious visas, and they've had to go back to Australia multiple times because the law required it. There was an issue that came up. Maybe their visa had expired, and now they had to go back to Australia and come back. That costs, of course, thousands of dollars to do that, but they're willing to do it because that's what the law requires. So I most definitely don't believe that those who are expecting to just cross the border illegally and live here freely are allowed then to stay when others are working so hard to do it by the book, and the process is delayed, and it's costing them thousands of dollars to do it. Man, we need to expedite this process, unclog the system, and get those people who are doing the right way, help them expedite it. And then we can talk about more work visas or whatever for those who are here, who've been here for 30 years, who still haven't taken any action to do it the right way. That's a big concern of mine. Stephanie Davis saying they need to become citizens. Yeah, you're making the same point I did. If they've been here for years and haven't tried, why haven't they? Exactly. So, here's the thing. They're good people. They're hard workers. They're doing jobs that maybe a lot of Americans can't or won't do. Nonetheless, they're here illegally. That has to be corrected. And I know there's a big concern. I sat down with a man who is legal here, but he's Hispanic and has a lot of illegal friends, and he's got a big concern for them. I understand that concern, but we can't just walk into Germany or walk into some other country and say, hey, no, I'm just going to stay here. You need to honor. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to work hard here. So you can't deport me. No, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. There's a law, there's a border, and I think we have to enforce that. If you're here illegally, unfortunately, you're going to have to make that right, and that may require you to go back and work through the system the right way. That's what we have to do. It's the most clear-cut approach. And like I said before, I think Holman has said this. He said if he stops a drunk driver, that's going to disrupt their family. If you rob a bank or commit any other crime and it causes you to go to jail, that's going to disrupt your family. But that's the price of breaking the law, unfortunately. And John Boyd popping on saying they're working the system. How much of that is due to paying taxes and how many taxes they pay? Here's the thing. For me, I've been saying, I don't care if they pay taxes. Again, you rob a bank, you make $1 million off of it, but you say, but hey, I'm paying taxes. Well, I don't really care if you're paying taxes if you broke the law. So I don't like this argument of whether or not they're paying taxes. I mean, let's just look at the black and white of it. Did they break the law? Okay, what are the consequences of that? How does that need to be adjudicated? What is the due process there? And how do we need to right that wrong? And then how do we unclog the system, like they just said, and bring those who have been working so diligently, paying a high price to do it by the book? I want to help those individuals have a clear path to citizenship with a more expedited, streamlined process. So, of course, so much of this we're talking about is at the federal level, But here at the state, I believe we work with Holman, we work with Trump to accomplish this mission of deporting those who are here illegally. And, I don't see any other way around that. It's pretty black and white. But I hit the points I wanted to make this morning. And I wanted to remind you that on the 24th, I'll be speaking at the OKGOP Boots and Bling. And then this Thursday, you guys down in Pittsburgh County, I'm coming to see you. So coming down to Pittsburgh County this Thursday at Krebs, Oklahoma. And looking forward to that. So had a great town hall last night with Justin Easley, like I said. And we don't have any official volunteer meetings on the books, but we're working on getting those scheduled. So stay tuned for that. Be sure to go to jakemerrickforgovernor.com and check out my platform there. You can sign up and endorse me. There's a tab there at the top that says endorsements. You can drop your own endorsement. I'd appreciate that. We got sign makers and button makers and bumper sticker makers all over the state who are working hard getting the word out. And really appreciate all of the support. It's just continuing to grow and snowball. We're working on September 6th, the big event in Chickasha, Oklahoma, where we're going to call people to action. And that's what it's about, calling people to action. So appreciate you guys hopping on this morning. I've got to wrap it up and get to my next appointment. But what else? I wanted to say something else. Let me see. Let me check my checklist here before I close out today. Check out my new X page if you haven't already. I did get my old X page hacked and have not recovered it yet. So I had to start over on that. So that's always fun. But Jake Merrick for Gov is the handle on that. Jake Merrick for Gov, and that's the number 4 on that one. But also check out the YouTube playlist. I got a series of videos that it's actually in the description. Should be in the description, the link there. I got several links there. Check those out. On all of those, if you would, just tag somebody, just like and subscribe and share it. That helps get the word out. It's already growing. We're seeing more and more people hop on, so very important. Here's a big deal. If you want to host an event, that could be at your home, community center, your church, and have me out. I'd love to come out. So if you're interested in that, send me a message, Jake at jakemerrickforgovernor.com, Jake Merrick for Governor, and 4 is FOR, jakemerrickforgovernor.com. The email address is jake at jakemerrickforgovernor.com. Send me a message, and I would love to come and be a part of your meet and greet. If you want to host it in your home, like I said, in a community center, in your church, love to come out. So that's what I got this morning. Thank you guys. Appreciate all your feedback. Good morning to you guys. Leslie, Julie, Chris, and Stephanie Davis. Appreciate all of you. And I'll do it again tomorrow. Y'all guys have a blessed day. We'll see you then.